Hello, me. Meet the real me. In my misfits way of life. Gives me a migraine headache. Sinking down to your level. You just keep on thinking it's my fault. I'll keep an inch or two out of kicking distance. Mankind has got to know his limitations. Welcome, once again, to Pandora's Box.
Do you know the tale of Jimmy O'Malley?
Welcome to Pandora's Box. You heard it right here first. Hope everyone's having a good week. You are indeed listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. You might be listening to us on the radio, on DAB. You might be watching us on YouTube.
On the tubes.
If you're not listening to us or watching us on YouTube, then
what you
go
doing?
on YouTube and subscribe to Pandora's Box podcast. There you can see our visages. See the people behind the voices. Yeah, so how you doing, fellas? To the left of me, which is weird because usually it's to the right of me, we have Mr. Drusif Armstrong.
Ah, yes, I am here. I am right here.
I'm not even going to give you the choice today. Your name is Hyperion.
Hyperion!
Hyperion.
What a cool name.
Today. And to the
Hyperion.
right of me, we have Mr. Nathaniel Warren.
Not wait.
Oh, mate. I've adopted him. He's my son now.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Nathaniel Warren, who's the host of the Rap Radar, which is on Sundays on Aspen Waite Radio from 8 until 10 p.m.
That's right. That's right.
Damn straight.
Quite a tonal shift after the Forest of Glebe. And I'm going to call you this week, again, I'm just being a tyrant with the names today. I'm going to call you Axe Sharpen.
Axe Sharpen.
Okay.
Axe Sharpen and the Hyperion.
Axe Sharpen,
cool.
short for axe.
Yeah, so let's get on with the chatting, lads. I have to say, we have gone so off the deep end with Aliens recently, haven't we? And I think I have a bit of a confession to make that I think I jumped off a little bit too far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just went a bit crazy with the alien stuff.
Oh, nice, man. Welcome to my world.
Yeah, I know, this is just like a normal day in the life of Hyperion.
Hyperion, yeah.
But, I just think it was so funny. And do you know what brought me back down to life?
What's that?
You know, we were talking about the Kentucky Goblin story last week.
Yeah.
Which, you know, by the way, if you're listening, you're like, Kentucky Goblins? What? You can go back on aspenwaiteradio.com,
watch it. It's a
watch
good
that
one.
back, or just go on YouTube, obviously go on the last episode, you can watch that to hear about the Kentucky Goblin story. But as we were talking about it, Axe Sharpen found out that there was a documentary series called Hellier.
Okay.
That's on. Have you watched any of that?
I haven't, no.
No. Did you end up watching any of it?
I haven't yet,
I
man, but I'm
forgot it was a
definitely
thing.
going to.
And that's sort of what ended up bringing me back down to earth, which is ironic because at first it did the opposite of that.
So what, it brought you back down to earth?
Yeah, and I'll explain
How?
why. Because at first I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Right, I watched the first couple of episodes, and
You were blowing your load, man.
I was down the rabbit hole, man. I remember I messaged you, didn't I?
Yeah, like, you gotta watch it.
Yeah,
You literally got
I
to watch
still
it.
think it's really worth watching. Apart from anything else, it's almost like as a case study. The first 3 or 4 episodes, I was ridiculously hooked. But then there was almost like a shift in the program.
Did it go a bit silly?
And I ended up
Super silly.
by the last episode of the first season, I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to ruin it for you guys. But
Did they try and prove stuff still, or did it just get super silly?
There was all these insane,
Claims.
weird, freaky coincidences and
okay.
contacts, these anonymous weird things that happen in these stories. And they'd gone to Kentucky, and it was proper strange. And I was like, man, this is weird. And
so is the whole thing about the Kentucky Goblins, or is it different species of alien and stuff?
Well, it does. It branches off into that. It branches off into almost
supernatural and ghosts.
These
and
weird
demons.
orders, it's called I think it's called the First Order.
First Order of Light.
There's this weird conspiracy about this weird First Order, and apparently they're the humans that are almost chosen to represent mankind while speaking to the aliens of the universe and that. And there's this weird character there's this weird character called what's that called?
Hyperion.
No,
Ingrid
sharpen.
Ingrid Cold.
Ingrid Cold.
And supposedly that was like an alien that lived on Earth.
Called Ingrid.
Yeah, and it all links up supposedly with like the Mothman story.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You know, that happened in where was it? I think it was San Francisco. This man. Whoa. Nothing's as weird as that. But that was a weird little song that me and Drew lent our
Bardic voices too.
Our talents to a couple of years ago. But yeah, so I don't know. I sort of want to talk about it, but I don't want to give it away to you guys. But one small thing I will say is the first few episodes, it's like epic, amazing, gripping. Yeah. And I won't get to say anything other than this. But in the last episode, there's this bit where they're in this like tunnel in Kentucky, right?
Okay.
And they're essentially like talking to literally like a tin can.
Oh my god!
And they think that it's like evidence. They think that it's Ingrid Cold that's shapeshifted into a tin can.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Is this like acting or?
No. They think they're being real.
They went deeper down the rabbit hole than you
did. They gone cray.
They gone cray.
They gone full cray, man. Talk about grasping at straws.
Grasping at tin cans.
And the whole reason they thought it, as I said, I don't want to give too much away. There's obviously a lot more to it than this, so it's not going to ruin it for you guys. But it was like, have you ever seen anybody use like one of those things called like a spirit box?
Like a Ouija board?
No. Sort of like a modern day Ouija board.
I know the one. Is it the sort of one that like turns red if there's spirits around, or like, it makes a noise?
It's basically like it uses like white noise.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they tune into like like imagine if you're trying to tune into a radio station, but you just put it somewhere in between either radio station, so it's just like
white noise. Yeah.
And then like basically they see if voices come through.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is if it sounds like rational, or if it almost seems like it's starting to talk to the person that's there, then it's almost like evidence that it's like it's supposed to be a way that like either like ghosts or creatures. The thing I thought was a little bit strange about it is obviously it was like aliens, but then they were using the spirit box, and they were almost like the way that the show's going is they were trying to say that like ghosts, aliens, the Illuminati, Bigfoot, like everything is like intertwined and almost at the same thing. So they were almost saying that like if they did use a spirit box, even though like traditionally like people use that to like as evidence of ghosts, like they think that the aliens could communicate through it,
right?
Which is already, it was a bit like, all right, I'm not 100% sold on that. Like how would like an alien like chat through that? Anyway, but you know, you have to, let's face it, you have to take everything with a grain of salt anyway when you're going down this avenue of thinking. So yeah. When they did this like spirit box, right, and the guy that was doing it had like a blindfold on, with the idea being that he didn't want to be like influenced by anything that he could see. And he also had he had headphones on with the white noise, so they could hear what he was saying, but he couldn't hear what everyone else was saying. So they were almost like asking him asking the aliens questions and then seeing what the guy was saying back. And obviously a lot of it was incoherent, but like with a lot of things, people will almost like pick and choose what they think. So if they asked anything and the guy said even remotely anything that could be seen as an answer, they were like, oh my god, like, the aliens are talking to us like this is too weird. You know?
So what happened? Did it literally just say tin can and they just
at
went
one
crazy?
point he just started going like tin can, like the guy, and they were obviously like, what, this is like random. And then later on they were in this cave and they saw like a tin can and they were like,
it's the tin can.
Oh my god, it's a tin can.
It's the tin can.
And then they were like, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense.
Yeah, right.
But I think they saw something. And to be fair, this is like minorly weird, but it's still like enough that, but it's still not a coincidence enough that it makes it seem anything less than like a complete joke. I think they were like reading this book that this crazy guy, don't want to slander the chap actually. He might be a very nice bloke, but anyway, he wrote this book that I can imagine it would actually be very interesting to read.
Right.
And it was all like about like, the Mothman, like the thing that happened with the Mothman in, what was it, Point Pleasant, I think. Yeah, Point Pleasant. That's where the Mothman sightings happened and the bridge like collapsed into the river or whatever.
Okay.
But supposedly this guy had written this book and he was saying that Point Pleasant thing was all connected to aliens and that he had met this guy called Ingrid Cold, who ended up revealing to himself that he was an alien, right? And in this, this guy's written this whole book, and it's got this weird code at the back, and using this code, you can like apply it to stuff to try and get information and stuff. And you can see how, like, if you'd say
gotten a bit crazy, or you had enough time on your hands, or you were like experimenting with drugs, or a combination of all three, and you were reading enough into this, you could go down this crazy rabbit hole, right?
Right.
It's almost like you can see, it's almost like tempting.
Yeah.
But basically, there's this line in the book, I think, where it says something like Ingrid Cold could change his appearance at will, changing from like the appearance of a man to even maybe a tin can. And then, so they read that after the guy that did the spirit box was randomly going, tin can, tin can, tin can. Or he said he read it afterwards anyway. Because you've got to bear in mind, this could all be like a con to make money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This documentary at the end of the day, they just want to get views. So some people out there might just be like, you know, they don't even believe it. This is all just a scam.
Obviously, the main thing that a documentary needs is like proof. That's what would everyone. If you heard like on documentary, there is a on real life alien sighting, everyone would watch it because it's just
100%.
crazy.
100%.
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
I'm gonna take their word for it, and almost just like, you know, assume that they're honest people in terms of like that they're not trying to, you know, that the guy hadn't read it beforehand to try and almost like plant evidence. But even so, the fact that this guy randomly was going tin can, and then they read that, and then they're just like wandering in this dark tunnel, and then they just see a tin can, and then they're almost like talking to the tin can and being like, oh my god, tin can.
That was a little bit too much for you.
I was literally like watching it on the sofa, and then I literally was like burst out laughing, and I was like, what the hell?
Okay, maybe I won't watch season 2.
It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's almost like worth watching, because it's almost like, as I said, it's almost like a case study.
Yeah.
But after that, it almost like brought me back down to earth, and I was just like, as I said, I feel like the last like month or two, we've done like a lot of Pandora's boxes where we've been going like chatting about like a lot of wacky stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, like, I think I've got to remember that a lot of
I still think you should watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
I will watch it.
Yeah, because that'll get you deep in again. And then you can come back, and then I can welcome you back to my world.
yeah. But then it's like, as I said, I do still recommend that you both watch it, and I'd be really interested to see what you both make of it. You know, your individual opinions. And don't get me wrong, the first 3 or 4 episodes are genuinely good. It's good telly. It's just good viewing.
Yeah.
It was like fun to watch it. Like, the way they described it and set it up, and like even the intro music was like really good, well done.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But like it just almost gets to the point where the people in it. Have you ever watched the US Office?
I haven't. We talked about that before, haven't we?
I've seen like a couple episodes, but not all of it.
For anyone out there that's seen the US Office, the last episode of the first season, it made me feel like the way that the US Office is shot. Obviously, it's made to look like there's like a camera crew filming like a random office.
Yeah.
And every now and again it'll cut from actually them being filmed to suddenly almost like a little interview in like the office, and they'll be like, this is what I told Jim or something like blah, blah, blah. And it started making me think of that.
Right.
And
so
I was like,
almost like a bit reality
this
TV.
is like a caricature.
Yeah.
It almost like turned into like a caricature of what it was in the first couple of episodes.
Right.
The way that, like, can you imagine it? They come across this literally this tin can in a cave, and then it would just suddenly cut to one of them like sat down in front of a microphone, and they were like, and there it was, the tin can, just as he'd been talking about on the microphone. And I was like, this guy is nuts. I was like,
nut bored.
I was like, what the hell is this guy? And then, like, you know, they'd be like, what the main guy in it's like girlfriend is supposedly like they refers to her as a hedge witch,
right?
And she does like tarot card readings and stuff. And every now and again she'd be like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And it'd be like, literally didn't hear anything. Or like maybe like hear like something, but she was like almost like making out that it was like this massive noise that was almost like proof that there was like an alien nearby. And it was like it could have been anything because they were like out in the wilderness. A lot of it, like it could have been a deer. It literally could have been so many things, and the fact that it was almost like
alien.
Well, you know, the evidence we've got today, we've got the tin can, we've got the noises, which was probably aliens, and it's like you literally came across a tin can and heard like a faint noise.
Yeah,
like
calm yourself down.
Like bring it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna listen to a track now. This is a good track to sort of like ponder everything that we've spoken about. This is Vicarious by Tool. Check it out. That was Vicarious by Tool. So we were just chatting about the documentary Hellier, which I said I had very mixed feelings about, but has definitely ultimately brought me back down to earth. But I guess I said the people in the documentary, they seem like very nice guys, but the way I'd almost like describe it, just to finish off the conversation, was that I feel like they got like halfway through the first season, or maybe a little bit more than halfway through, like near the end of the second season. And then I feel like there was almost like a point where they realised that everything they were doing was like silly. Or like wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like psychologically
they were too invested.
Exactly. So I feel like imagine, right, America is a big place, right? So I can't remember where they were from originally, but they travelled all the way to Kentucky. That's a lot of miles. Spent money on like motels and hotels and cabins to stay
think about how much money must have been spent on the production to get halfway through the season, then quit.
And I think psychologically it was easier for them. I think it would have been so disheartening and almost like depressing for them to almost just like mentally admit, like, this has all been a waste of time. I reckon it was easier for them to actually then just go more cray and to actually just almost like stubbornly believe it. I think that was.
So they didn't actually get any pictures of the goblins or any footage of the goblins.
Well, there are supposed pictures of the goblins, but not from them. Somebody sent them to them.
Okay.
And there is one bit where they're like in this cabin in the middle of the woods, and I'm not gonna lie, I was watching it and I was almost like a bit on edge, like because you start hearing like weird stuff like around the cabin.
Okay.
And I was a bit like compelled. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. There's this bit where like they
didn't get a headshot though.
No. They do this almost like, not a seance exactly, but they like. Yeah, again, you know, I said how it's all like supposed to be entwined. Yeah. And it's supposed to, the idea being obviously like with and this does make sense to me, the idea that like the Native Americans had these experiences and they gave like names to it, but almost like thought of them as like spirits. Thought of like the Kentucky goblins as like spirits that they were like getting visited by. So the lady that I said that the guy keeps calling it, saying that it's like a hedge witch, his girlfriend, she almost does this like weird, very respectful like little ceremony in the woods where she like lights a candle and everything. She almost like invites them in and says like, you know, if you want to communicate with us, we're like inviting you in now, and you know, you have nothing to fear, and we want to contact you, etc. And when that happens, as I said, the thing is, this is so psychological, but it seems like after she says that,
it's a bit weird.
It seems like suddenly there's lots of noises around them and things that are creeping, but you don't ever see it. And it seems to be like from
more activity.
Yeah, just generally more activity. But I think it could have just been my mind playing along. Do you know what I mean? It could have been me almost like hearing almost like what I wanted to hear in the excitement. Yeah. You know? Like, you know, it's hard to say. It's almost like, you know, like you could walk around in the dark in your garden or wherever and it would just be normal. But you know how like after you've watched a horror movie, suddenly you're on edge? Yeah. Well, that's just purely psychological. It's no different than any other night when you're doing it. But it's just psychological, isn't it? I feel like it's a bit like that. You know? It was like the same as that. Anyway.
So was that our alien talk for the day?
That was our alien.
We'll have to get another story for next week.
That was
try and bring you back,
bringing us back down to earth with the alien stuff. Yeah. So if anyone's been listening, thinking that we've been getting slowly more crazy with the alien stuff, then you know, we've come back down to earth a little bit.
Where's there to go after that though? Everything's boring after aliens.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it?
We peaked too early.
Yeah, we peaked too early. Oh, damn, I hate it when that happens. Yeah, shot our load too early, man. Got too excited, shot our load. Damn it. I've got some other cool stories for you, though, this week. Have you ever heard of the Ghostship Jenny?
Oh, Jenny from the block, no.
Don't get fooled by the rocks that I got. This is a cool story. Obviously... there were lots of European explorers that would visit like the Antarctic and the Arctic and really sort of pushing the boundaries of human exploration.
Like cut through the ice, just like straight trekking out there.
And some of them were like absolute legends. You hear some stories of guys. I remember I talked about a Norwegian explorer before on Pandora's Box. I think this was before you joined us.
Right.
Do you remember when he was the one that he like wrote a book about his experiences with the Eskimo?
And the whale tongue.
I was there for that.
Were you there for that?
And the whale tongue.
Yeah, and he had a whale tongue, and then some was told him it had been there for like years.
Yeah.
And some of that, and he said it was like so salty and like really weird and that. And he was like saying about like
nice
the cool
bit of salty whale tongue.
Yeah, his like really interesting interactions with like the Inuit people.
And they try and one up him.
Yeah. How they just weren't like, he thought that they were going to be amazed because they were basically living like nomadic lifestyles, and he thought that they were going to be like amazed by like all of his European technology. And just everything he said, they just almost just acted real casual and then just went up to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was like so funny.
Tried to show off.
Yeah, so when he was like, we have like a projectile, like, you know how you have bow and arrows, we have this gun, and like you could shoot a guy on another mountain, and they were like, we once knew a guy that could shoot his arrow to the moon. And he was just like, oh, all right. Well, anyway, that's a cool story about the Ghostship Jenny. I've just got some information because I remembered the bare bones facts, but the Ghostship Jenny, it was found years after it was lost, frozen inside an ice barrier of the Drake Passage in 1840, almost 20 years after it first disappeared.
Where's
so
this?
It's frozen in ice?
The Arctic. This is in the Arctic.
So it's frozen in an ice cap, did you say? In an ice
The
block?
Jenny was found frozen inside an ice barrier. It just says what exactly an ice barrier is. We'll Google it. We'll Google it after the story just to find out exactly what an ice barrier. I assume it's just a barrier of ice.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Ice wall, probably.
So yeah, they disappeared for 20 years, and then they finally got found. Everybody on board, really freakily, was just frozen solid, and obviously where they were frozen, there was no decomposition or anything, so they were just just frozen, but looked proper skinny. Inside, they found the captain frozen in his chair with a pen in his hand, and the last entry log in his book just said, May 4th, 1823, no food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. And I just thought, when I just read that, I just thought that's almost chilling. Well, literally, chilling, boom, but just
Captain
I don't
America.
want to say cool, because at the end of the day, loads of people lost their lives, probably in quite a horrible way. Imagine just basically slowly freezing and starving to death. Horrible, man. You know when you're have you ever been so cold, just actually starts being proper unpleasant.
Yeah, it's painful. It's like your bones start aching.
You almost feel on the verge of hypothermia. I don't know if that's actually if you actually
and
are.
then it all goes warm.
But you actually feel like you have to proper warm up for ages. It doesn't just take
chilled to the bones, as they say.
Yeah.
Do you remember when there was a blizzard a while back here?
Quite sure.
So it was how many years? 7-8 years back.
Right.
And I might still have the video on my phone somewhere. We went out, me and my friends, went out to the cricket field near us.
Yeah.
And when it was this blizzard, we buried my friend like you would in sand under snow. And I've got a video, and we're trying to record what's happening. And I pan around, and you just can't see anything. The whole thing is just white.
Really?
Yeah.
When was that then? Were you just talking about when it snowed last?
No. There was
a big blizzard.
This was a proper blizzard. Yeah. I remember there were warnings on the news and
how
everything.
Many years ago was it, do you know?
I'll have to have a look. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
if you had to say, how long ago do you reckon it was?
I reckon we were probably in year 7. So
and
that
you're what
must
now,
be
18?
6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Interesting. My memory doesn't go back that far.
Mine either, man.
Not that period of my life, anyway. I could tell you what happened when I was a little kid, but not 6 years ago, man. Yeah, but that's freaky, innit? About that frozen shit.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
But an interesting story, just the idea that it would almost just be found, and then you just start creeping on board, and there's just all these people just
Do you reckon they gave the captain then the last bits of food if he was the last survivor?
I guess it only makes sense that where he was the captain. I guess he had obviously had his own cabin and stuff, and
hoarded a bit of nuts away or something.
Yeah, hiding stuff away.
That's just creepy, innit? No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive.
How would you survive without food for 71 days?
Well, you can, as long as you've got water, you can actually survive for a very long time.
Right.
There was a story about a Scottish guy. I can't remember his name. Maybe we could find out his name. There was an interesting, and he almost used himself as an experiment for science. He was an obese Scottish man, right? And he lived off nothing but water and a multivitamin. So he had a multivitamin every day. Apart from that, he just drank water, and he lived like that for a whole entire year, and he survived. But I do think it's worth mentioning that he was clinically obese. So by the end of the year, obviously he had lost a lot of weight.
Right.
But I think obviously if you weren't so overweight, I don't think that you'd be able to do it healthily. But I think because he had
a lot of fat stores to
at the end of the day, that's what fat stores are.
Well, it's like I was telling you about Gaudi before his death, where he used to have just a milk and then put lettuce in the milk.
Yeah.
And that was his meal
That's
for
so
the entire
weird.
day.
Would he actually eat the lettuce, do you know? Or was he was it just lettuce infused milk?
I don't know what the purpose of that would be.
Yeah.
I think it must have been stuff that he ate, but I don't know why he put it inside the milk.
Just dipping lettuce in milk and eating it.
Yeah.
That's a bit weird. Yeah.
He was called Barbieri, but I can't find his first name.
Barbieri.
Yeah.
You got it up about him though. Has he got a picture of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember
Quite
seeing
a big
it.
lad.
Yeah, but I think as I said,
He was only 27 though.
was he?
Like when he was that, and he was 207 kilograms.
Whoa, that is seriously heavy. That's like twice as heavy as me.
It's a big boy. That's what I'm like
456
65.
pounds.
Yeah,
70.
I'm about 16 stone in British measurements. So he would have been about 32 stone, something like that. That's whoa. That's
crazy, isn't it?
That is, yeah, I think unless you were like as big as him, I don't think you could do it healthily.
Yeah, no.
If somebody as slim as
You
you,
wouldn't last that long.
Have you heard about those people that apparently live off sunlight?
that is absolute rubbish. That is so. Well, they like a clam.
Okay. There's
Wait, what?
there's this one guy, and he was like this guru guy in India,
Guru
and
Nanak.
they put him in like a testing facility, basically like a scientific testing facility,
greenhouse.
where they where they would like studying him. And he didn't ever go for like a pee as well. That was like a part of it. So he would he would drink small amounts of water and just meditate and sit. And they actually like in the studies like took like an MRI scan of like his bladder and stuff, and his bladder would like get a bit full after he drank water, and then he wouldn't pee, and it would just like get reabsorbed into his body and that.
Surely that's really bad for you though, because it's essentially waste product.
I don't know, yeah, and it was just crazy, and like they studied it. I don't know how long the study was for, but they like studied him for a long time, and he
How do you not just pee
surviving.
yourself?
Yeah,
Surely
no,
you
that's
pee
what
yourself.
he said. It was like they would that's what they thought, and there was water would go into his bladder, and then it would just like absorb, like dissolve. Or whatever.
That is a very interesting case study. I know that there was almost like that trend that started hearing a couple of years ago, and it was like when people would like sunbathe their butts. Do you hear about that? I can't remember. I think it was almost had like a gimmicky name as well, and it was like this gimmick that started going on. Some like gurus, quote unquote gurus, would start saying that like it was really good for you to like when you were sunbathing, like literally like moon the sun essentially.
Why?
But like spread your cheeks.
Yeah, why?
They thought that you were like absorbing the sun's rays or something
through your butthole
in like a place that normally the sun would never go, and as a result, like
see where the sun don't shine.
Yeah, like you would literally like, absorb the sun through your butt.
What?
But then I read there was a thing from doctors, and they were like, "This is like a worrying trend," and apparently, like especially in California, because especially in like California is quite known for being like a very like hippie woke area of the world. And there are lots of like daft hippies and stuff, no offense, in California trying it out. And apparently people had started going to A&E though, because basically the area, TMI, the area around your butt is very sensitive. It's very delicate.
You'd sunburn it, wouldn't you?
So there were loads of cases of people starting to go into A&E with severe sunburn around their anus, essentially. Which, imagine how uncomfortable that would be. Like every time you'd shift, imagine that, like the burn. Yeah, and it was like, so there were like all these doctors coming out like, please do not follow any of this wacky guru advice. Like, you do not need to suntan your anus.
He probably just did that as a joke though. He's like, I'm going to get all these stupid people
you
to
can
burn their buttholes.
You can look it up though, like countless articles on the internet of like people that are like started saying they've done it and that they were, but people with all of these different fads, there are people that are like swearing by it, but it's like the effects of that's purely placebo. That's purely psychological. There's no benefit.
Imagine eating hot food after that.
Oh, mate, double burn. It's like a movie, triple burn. That's what the movie is called. Anyway, we're going to listen to another track now. This is Fell on Black Days by Soundgarden. When we come back, we'll carry on the chat, everybody. That was early Smashing Pumpkins. That was when Billy Corgan still had hair. That was Rhinoceros. Love that album. Off Geesh, the album Geesh. You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. You also might be watching us on YouTube, so hello everybody. Yeah, we were talking about interesting people. We were talking about a guy that was really overweight who lived off nothing but water and multivitamins for a year. Drew was telling us about the plant, as we've decided to call him, a man that lived off just nothing but sunlight and small amounts of water.
Yeah, and in the study, he didn't actually have any water. So
really?
It was a 15-day scientific study where he was observed and he didn't have any water, and they were like, "You're going to die if you no water or food for 2 weeks." This is a really long outro.
Yeah, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, they didn't think it's possible basically, so they like studied him for 15 days no water, no food.
Do you know
and he
if
was healthy.
What was the?
Do you know if he did this by choice?
Jenny. Yeah,
No,
because
he was handcuffed.
he claimed that he'd lived for more than 70 years by absorbing water through a hole in his palate, and that was it. No food.
And they through a hole in his palate. What does he even mean? What, just like sucked it out of the air?
I don't know.
Sucked moisture out of the air, just like. That's a bit freaky.
Yeah, so he baffled
plant.
doctors who studied him and did not see him eat or drink anything for more than 2 weeks.
How long is it going to be until he's in the MCU?
Yeah.
You
What's the MCU?
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Ah.
Who do you reckon would be his like nemesis out of all the Marvel superheroes? Who do you think would like battle the plant?
The plant.
I don't know, some vegetarian? I don't know.
Some vegetarian. I reckon it would be like I don't reckon it would be like one of the bigger, like higher up.
Oh, so you mean like an actual one that's already
yeah,
now?
yeah.
I thought you were like make up a villain for him.
I don't know, the vegetarian. No, I'm talking about, so he's a villain. Like, who out of the Marvel current like heroes, who do you think would fight? Who do you reckon he would have like square off against in like a Marvel movie? Do you reckon like the Hulk? Because he's green.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, I like your thinking.
I like the thought that like he would just turn up just almost like sucking moisture out of the air, like a little weirdo, and then the Hulk just decks him.
I've got the image in my head of like
just Hulk smash. Bang!
What's Mortal Kombat? Look, is it Mortal Kombat? I don't think it's Mortal Kombat. There's another one like that.
That's the game when they do like fatalities.
Yeah. There's another one, and there's this like real stretchy man in it.
Oh,
and, like,
that's Street Fighter.
In Street Fighter, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the image in my head, like
this
real skinny, like.
Yeah, I think the guy in, I can't remember his name, but the character in Street Fighter, I think he's supposed to be almost like an Indian or something like that. But his like limbs stretch, and he like punches and kicks people with like stretchy limbs. Yeah, I can sort of imagine that. Does it say anything in that article though, man, about like, did they like monitor his health like when he came out of this greenhouse or whatever he was in? Like, what was the physical state of him? Did he like need to drink loads of water and like?
No, apparently not.
So he was just like, he was
somebody
fine.
doesn't take water for 7 or 8 days, he surely dies. Perhaps as equally interesting for the doctors was that the fact that Jenny passed no urine or stool during the time period. Shah said that normally when someone has had no stool or urine, they need dialysis.
Whoa.
Jenny has confounded the scientists. We are studying the phenomenon. The bottom line is that even fasting for more than a day can be dangerous.
He reminds me almost like, like of like Wim Hof, where like Wim Hof like defies the scientific literature.
Yeah, this is what I mean.
So it's like Wim Hof can do things that like science says are impossible, and it seems like this guy is as well. Like
that's it. It's like,
and I think it's like some people are almost like outliers. Like so there'll always be like people that can, some reason they can do things that like 99% of the rest of the population can't do for whatever reason. It's almost like some slight mutation, like X-Men style.
Yeah, and
do you know what I mean?
The doctors say, we realise that if this whole phenomenon really exists in a human being, even for 15 days, it would have immense application in unravelling secrets of medical science and its application for human welfare. So it was like quite a serious, like, you know what I mean? They were like, well, this is just weird. That goes against what we thought was possible. So I like what you say.
It'd be interesting to like, if they could go down onto like literally like a really in-depth level, like study his DNA and his like genome and that, to like find out what is going on inside of him.
I think it's almost like that, like mind over matter thing, like literally mind over matter.
I think
that's what Wim Hof.
Part.
Like Wim Hof is like that, isn't it? It's almost like you believe something enough, then you can make it happen in your body, especially in your own body.
I think that like some people though are gonna be like phically more able to do these things than others.
I was going to say, I think
that.
even if I believed that I could, if I didn't eat or drink for 15 days, I'd be gone.
I always think a good way of talking about this is like when I hear like the world's strongest men talk about stuff, it's like there's like different things, like criterias you have to meet to become the world's strongest man, because it's such an extreme thing to be the strongest man alive. It's like, one, the most important thing is you have to believe it. But secondly, you need to be like genetically elite in terms of strength. So you need to have the mental side of it, and then you need to literally be genetically elite in terms of your strength. You just have to have some weird, just randomly have this weird lineage where for some reason, growing up when you were a kid, you were always like 10 times stronger than your mates.
I think
You need
as
to have
well,
that, and then you need to have the work ethic.
Yeah.
That also comes into it, and it's like without any of those things, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So it is almost like you need to have.
I also
It's
think
not
as
just
well,
one
like the belief thing as well. Though you can say like, you know, just because you believe it, like you'd still be like. I think belief can be cultivated as well. So
Yeah.
belief is
Yeah,
like
definitely.
a mental practice. So you can get
Definitely.
like, do you know what I mean? Like you can get stronger mentally at something.
That's why like a
by
lot of
practicing it a
athletes
lot.
go to like sports psychologists that almost like hypnotize the athletes into believing they're the best because
Yeah.
otherwise they wouldn't believe it.
There's like strengths to that as well, you know.
Yeah, man.
Not everyone can be the best at what in the world or something, though.
Because I think there's
That's
a lot
what
of people
you're
that
saying,
would
yeah.
believe that, and unfortunately it would never happen.
Mm.
But we've got to listen to some tracks now anyway. We're going to listen to a little double bill of Tenacious D, and then when we come back, we'll get right back into the convo. Cheers, guys. That was Teenage Riot by Sonic Youth. You are listening to Pandora's Box. Thanks for chilling with us here this evening. I thought I'd talk to you guys a little bit about the White Death. Simo Heiha. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a Finnish guy. It's hard to pronounce that, so it's like Simo Heiha. Something like Simohayha. He is considered one of, if not the most deadly sniper in history. There was a war that was called the Winter War between the Soviet Union and Finland between 1939 and 1940. And Simo was considered, as I said, the most deadly sniper of all time. So the Soviet Union were expecting to like pretty much just like run over the Finnish forces. Obviously, Finland is like a relatively small country, especially compared to like Russia. The Soviet Union was like so massive, and I can't remember how outnumbered the Finnish was, but it was like something. It was like insane. I think it was like. In fact, would one of you guys be able to like check that out for me a second? Because I don't want to say anything too preposterous. But I think it's something like for every one Finnish tank, there was like 40 Soviet tanks.
What?
And in terms of like the actual like army,
And they still won.
Yeah, the Finns won. The Finns actually won
That's
the Winter War.
outrageous.
It is outrageous, isn't it? But while Hyperion is checking that out, I'm just going to give you some facts on Simo Heiha. So, Simo Heiha was a Finnish sniper. He never used a scope. Apparently, the scope.
He'd never used a scope.
So the scope, obviously, although it would make it easier, apparently the scope sometimes could give away the sniper.
Yeah, because of the light. It would reflect light in it.
In the sunlight, it could, or even just from torchlight and stuff, it could sometimes give off a reflection, and then enemy snipers could then snipe you. So, because knowing this, he never used a scope, but he single-handedly. It's thought that he single-handedly killed over 500 Russians. Just one man, just one sniper killed over 500 Russians. So he would like stay up in a tree for like weeks at a time.
Right.
He would literally climb a tree in the snow, in like a snowy tree, dressed in just nothing but white clothing. He would camp out there with like rations and his sniper rifle, and he would just snipe out Russians like day and night. And he killed over 500 Russians. Eventually, he did get wounded when an explosive bullet hit his jaw and disfigured him. He did survive, but it took him over a year to recover from his wounds.
This guy's like the real life Hawkeye.
Yeah. So just like super sharpshooter, just like mad sharpshooter.
You'd think they'd be playing sports or something if you're that accurate of a person.
I've got a picture of him though, a picture of him from the Winter War. So this is the fella.
Ooh,
for everyone watching.
Cool looking dude.
Yeah, man. So, well, I like how he's just got like a real friendly, smiley face
Yeah.
as well. Almost just makes it a bit more cool, you know.
It's called the White Death.
The White Death. When you're that badass, you don't
Awesome.
need to like try and pull like a grimace, do you? You're just there rocking the cheesy grin, man. Who's going to mess with the White Death?
Exactly.
But yeah, I thought that was a cool fact anyway. I thought it was like worth bringing up.
So cool, man.
Have you found out how outnumbered they were? Don't worry about it too much, man. Don't worry about it too much. Another thing I saw recently, which I thought was really cool, was I didn't even realize they had these, but this is from like around the 1200s, like around 1200 AD.
Right.
We talked a bit about Genghis Khan and stuff before on Pandora's Box. And I didn't realize that in those days, some of them had like passports. So
What?
yeah. So this is like and it's called an imperial passport. So I'll show up like a picture of it for everyone. You see it? Yeah. an imperial passport, one of 2 known Kublai Khan passports. It's made of steel and bronze.
Ah, yeah, that was it, not gold.
From what's known as the Yuan dynasty of 1240 AD. In Mongolian, it translates to, "I am the emissary of the Khan. If you deny me, you die." And I just thought, that is epic.
Mm-hmm.
So to everyone saying
Mm.
Genghis Khan and the Khans were good people.
Yeah, because apparently there was a comment on one of the TikTok videos from somebody when we were talking about Genghis Khan and how he like...
Oh, you bunch of poms.
Yeah, well, we basically said that, just factually, we don't personally have anything against him, but obviously just talking about the fact that he was a savage warlord, which is both badass and awful, depending on how you're looking at it. Basically, depending on if you're the one that he's trying to, pillage or not, conquer your city, literally like catapult people with the plague into your city if you were like a Chinaman or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think they'd like him very much.
Yeah, but somebody wrote something that like Marco Polo, who was around in the site actually in the time of Kublai Khan, not of Genghis Khan. So Kublai Khan was Genghis Khan's grandson. Somebody had like left a comment or something saying like Marco Polo said that Kublai Khan was actually a really nice chap, which is like, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad that Marco Polo got on with him well. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure the Khans were like impressive people. I'm sure you met them, and I bet like the majesty of them, the pure majesty, I bet was like almost like overwhelming. I bet they left such a regal impression on you.
And to their allies and everything, I'm sure they were very good people. But.
And let's face it, Marco Polo was obviously, I want to say he was
Venetian.
Was he Venetian? Was he? So he was like Italian essentially. Yeah, so like from Venice. So he would have been like in modern days an Italian. I expect Genghis Khan respected the fact that this guy came from what was known, it was over by this point, but obviously the Roman Empire would have still been like, to this day, obviously, it's so famous. I expect he almost like respected that portion of the world as also as like great conquerors. I'm imagining like if you were like an amazingly great conqueror, who else would you respect other great conquerors?
Yeah.
You'd hear tales of Julius Caesar and Marcus Aurelius and stuff like that, and you would be like, respect. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine.
Yeah.
So I expect, this guy comes to him and he's like, okay, well, you're from far enough away in the world. You don't really have any like direct impact on me or my life. If you're going to be here, I'd rather you went back to your side of the world and basically told everyone how much of a G I am. Essentially, do you know what I mean? Rather than said that I was like...
He was known to be super interested in like other areas of the world and like cultures and that, and open like to the hatred of a lot of his people and a lot of his generals and stuff, or different people that like warlords and leaders of his lands. Because he was like so interested in like Chinese ways and Western ways and all of that stuff. They're like, no, you need to keep it Mongolian. But he's like, I want to learn about all of this stuff because he's like quite open about it. So I can imagine, someone coming from like Italy and with all of these like ways and stuff.
Let's face it, like
by it.
To this day, I think Italy is one of the most interesting places on the planet because of how
I'd
rich...
love to go there.
Oh, it's amazing, man.
Their culture, yeah.
How rich the culture is. Like just the fact that you can go around Rome and look at the Colosseum and all the old like statues and stuff of like Jupiter and it's just amazing, isn't it? All the old like busts of the different emperors and stuff like that. It's well cool, man.
Sure.
The fact that like the Romans made all like the Silk Roads to like China and stuff to like trade silk, which is like at the time when the Romans first brought like traded silk with the Chinese and actually like brought it to Europe, the Europeans had never seen silk before. I'll tell you a cool, interesting fact, actually, which I thought was like quite funny because like, it almost makes me laugh to think that the Chinese were like pulling little like practical jokes on the Romans.
Right.
The Romans were so obsessed with silk, and they almost just like knew that all the rich people in Rome and that their emperor and stuff would just love silk. So when the Romans, they would pretty much trade anything for it. So the Chinese were very interested, obviously, in what the Romans had, because the Romans had things that weren't in like pelts and stuff that you couldn't find in China. So the Chinese used to be like fascinated by big brown bear pelts,
okay,
and things like that, because they didn't have like bears like that massive and stuff in Asia, or at least that part of Asia. So they would like trade like brown bear pelts and stuff in exchange for silk. But when the Romans, because the Romans were interested to like find out if like they could somehow, if there was like a way that they could cultivate it back home, if they could get their hands on it, and they said that it grew on trees. The Chinese said that it grew on trees, and apparently the Romans believed them. So like there were like tales of like they're like in like Roman books and stuff of them like saying like yes, and then the Chinese told us that it grows on like a special tree in China, and then there's other sources from like Chinese books and stuff, and it's like we told the Romans that it grows on trees, like ha ha ha, essentially, which is like
seeing both sides of it.
I think it's like a caterpillar or something.
Yeah, silkworm,
something like that. Yeah. And it's almost like you take almost like their web, for lack of a better word, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like their webs, and then you somehow make silk out of it.
web.
The ass web. But it's like, you can imagine how it would be like real fascinating at the time, because obviously it is like so just like smooth and got that nice little sheen. A nice little shine to it, hasn't it?
Silky smooth, baby.
Silky smooth sheens. Do you guys know much about giant ground sloths?
No. No, I can't say I do.
I've got a couple of interesting facts about giant ground sloths. So, a few million years ago, back when like it's called like back when the megafauna were at this peak. So, megafauna is basically considered anything that's like giant mammals. So, like considered almost like the heyday of mammals. So, think like woolly mammoths, mastodons, short-faced bears, the saber-toothed tigers.
Almost like you're walking around in Journey to the Mysterious Island or something.
Yeah, man, just giant, crazy. We've talked a little bit before, I think, on Pandora's Box. You know, when I talked one of the first ever shows we did on Pandora's Box, we talked about some of the most, what I thought were some of the most fascinating creatures that were ever lived, and we talked about the largest.
Megalodon.
We talked about the biggest land mammal ever, called Paraceratherium.
That's it.
And it's like it's an ancient ancestor, an ancient relative of modern day rhinos. But it was like 4 times the size of a modern African elephant. Oh, yeah.
4 times the size of an African elephant.
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But I think the giant ground sloths were called Megatherium. Okay, and like they were like, so think of like what a sloth looks like nowadays.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but like the size of an elephant. And they were giant ground sloths. Obviously, they were too big to go in trees, so but they still had like the big long claws like a sloth, and they looked very similar to a sloth.
And you said it's the size of an elephant.
Megatherium, the size of that.
Yeah. Oh,
but a couple of interesting facts about them. They were thought up until recently that they were purely herbivorous, but the new research has come out that think that they were actually omnivorous, which is like almost like a bit spooky in a way, because then it makes you think they're almost like early hominids. Like early ape-like ancestor of ours might have even been like attacked and killed and eaten by these like giant sloths.
Were they still super slow though?
Not as slow pound for pound, so to speak, as like a modern day sloth. I don't think. I think for their way of life, I don't think it would have almost been like as suitable. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But one thing I thought was really cool actually, I saved the article on my phone, so I'll quickly get it up because I don't know about it. I just sort of like glimpsed it and I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll save it because I thought it was really interesting. But they found these massive tunnels, and they didn't know who dug them, and it turns out that they think that they've been dug by giant sloths 10,000 years ago in South America. So let's
so they were around as little as 10,000 years ago.
So they would have come into contact with humans, yeah.
Whoa!
A giant mammal that lived 10,000 years ago in Brazil dug gigantic tunnels called paleo burrows. And digging those tunnels required claws, huge ones. So we've got some claw marks on a wall. So let's see if you can see that. Is that clear?
Yep.
You can see that? So that was made by a Megatherium.
Crazy.
But what could those giant creatures be? That is exactly the question geology professor Heinrich Frank asked himself while crawling through a mysterious tunnel uncovered at a construction site in Novo Hamburgo, Brazil. That sounds a little bit just like Hamburg in like Portuguese, which is like, I like that idea. Since it was unlike any geological formation he'd ever seen, Frank speculated that the tunnel must have been dug out by a living being. There's no geological process in the world that produces long tunnels with a circular or elliptical cross-section, which branch and rise and fall with claw marks on the walls. Whatever the enormous creature was, it left huge claw marks across the walls and ceilings of the tunnel and others of similar size found in the area. At that point, the professor slowly backed out and told the construction workers he'd be back in a few weeks. Frank, who works as a professor at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, kept his promise.
Rio Grande do Sul.
He ended up naming the mysterious tunnels and identified the animal most likely to have done the excavations, not only of the tunnels in Novo Hamburgo, but also thousands of others that were found in Brazil. So this is like actually.
I almost kind of wish that there was still like huge animals roaming about. Make
Imagine-
everything a bit
That'd be
more
amazing.
interesting.
Imagine how like freaky it would be, all right, if you like went into a cave, and to think that actually there were probably humans actually this happened to. I mean, no wonder there's like tales of like monsters and stuff going right back to like the dawn of mankind. Imagine like, oh, this is like quite a cool little cave.
That would be a proper cave monster, wouldn't it?
Yeah, imagine being like with like your mates. Say like just like us now, and you're like, oh, it's quite hot outside in the sun, especially in somewhere like South America. Oh, let's get some respite from the sun a little bit. You know, we've just gathered some water and we've got like some berries we've picked or something. Let's just go in this nice cool cave, cool off. You know, have a drink and some berries or whatever. You know, do some ayahuasca, and then suddenly you just say like, and then this freaking sloth the size of an elephant starts coming like bounding out to you out of this dark cave. Especially now they found out that they think they were omnivorous, so they were like potentially predatory.
Well, thank
Freaky,
you.
man. You can make a horror movie out of that. Anyway, it says the Professor Frank found his first tunnel in the early 2000s and learned that another scientist had coined the term paleo burrows. When he couldn't come up with an explanation for their existence, this made him look for further tunnels to eventually figure out the truth. As of today, Professor Frank and other researchers have found over 1,500 tunnels in the state of Rio Grande do
1,500?
Sul alone, as well as hundreds more in Santa Catarina. Many of these tunnels stretch for hundreds of feet and have numerous branches, and the largest one is a whopping 2,000 feet long. The caves themselves are over 6 feet tall and up to 5 feet wide. In these burrows, sometimes you get the feeling that there's some creature waiting around the next curve. Oh, that's a bit creepy. That's how much it feels like a prehistoric animal den.
It'd be awesome if they found some bones in there as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they do someday. I expect they. I even expect they will. I guess it depends what exactly they used them for. So you know, you went to Croatia and you found
the
this
giant
prehistoric.
bear. Yeah.
That's because obviously like bears hibernate.
Yeah, and that
So
one
that
couldn't get
bear
out.
like hibernated and then couldn't get out of his den. I guess like if these were similar in terms of they used it for hibernation, then there's a high chance I expect they'll find bones.
Well, they must have found bones, no, to identify the animal.
Well, I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe it will say it in this article, but I guess like they found the claw marks and maybe it all fits. I don't know.
Matched it up.
Eventually, he did find enough evidence to convince him that the paleo burrows were might come into this now, most probably dug by the giant ground sloth, the second largest prehistoric land mammal next to the mammoth. The primary evidence is the deep claw marks found by Frank on the walls of the paleo burrows, like the ones you see on the first picture above. Most scientists now agree they could only have been made by a giant ground sloth that were called Megatherium, and not by smaller giant armadillos, as some have suggested. Even that sounds cool, giant armadillos. Giant armadillos, mate. So this is like a picture, they've got a picture in the article of what a giant ground sloth would have looked like. So this is a giant ground sloth just casually eating from a tree. That's pretty cool, isn't
What?
it? Yeah.
Show Drew that.
Imagine just like riding that into battle.
It's mental. It looks like a massive bear, doesn't it? Like from that angle.
Sort of, yeah. Obviously, the thing that's cool about them is like modern day sloths, they've got like massive claws and almost like human-like hands as well. Do you know what I mean? They can like
Yeah.
close
They look
their
like they're
fists
going like
and- Yeah, just quite chill. I remember we got a friend called Willie, and I remember my friend Josh, who also happens to be Axe Sharpen's older brother, and also Drew's mate as well, obviously, or Hyperion's friend. We were watching, actually, in the first ever place I lived, when I moved out of my mum and dad's house, me and Josh were watching a documentary on megatheriums.
Right.
And, for some reason, it just reminded me load of our friend Willie. And I remember I said it to Josh, and at the time we were like a little bit wasted, and Josh just proper was laughing. But yeah, just like something about it reminds me of our friend Willie. Just like really long arms and just almost like a bit like lumbering and just like. Yeah, Megatherium americanum is the scientific name for an extinct species of giant ground sloth. The name means great beast from America.
Great beast from America.
It could stretch up to 15 feet and weigh roughly 5,709 pounds. That's 2,590 kilograms.
I can't even imagine that.
When you imagine that I'm about 100 kilos, that is actually almost like an inconceivable weight, isn't it? Yeah. You definitely wouldn't be able to pick up one of them. The only thing that's a mystery, apparently, is the professors still don't know exactly what they use the caves for. It says, Professor Frank and his team are unsure whether the extensive caverns were used to escape the climate, escape from giant predators, escape humidity,
I would think something to do with the weather, especially if it's in Brazil and South America, where it's like really like
really hot.
Yeah, that makes
proper
sense.
hot. Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting anyway, but
they look pretty hairy as well, didn't they?
this is a picture of. I've actually seen this in the flesh because as soon as I seen it, I don't even need to see where it's from because I actually remember it. This is a skeleton that you can see in the Natural History Museum in London of a Megatherium, and it's cool. I remember like seeing it, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Yeah, like I think I was like stood up next to it, and I like my head like came next to like the hip bone sort of thing. So it was like mega.
Showed you that one as well. Sounds crazy.
Yeah, so you can see that.
I remember seeing that as
well. You can see that in
the
the Natural History Museum in London. I think it's just on the left-hand side of a massive plesiosaur fossil.
Plesiosaur.
Yeah, cool, isn't it? I think that all like the megafauna are like very fascinating creatures because I think normally you think of like giant creatures and you think of like dinosaurs and things like that.
Yeah. Is that your favourite animal?
What?
The Megathor.
What, the Megatherium?
Megatherium, that's the one.
No. I wouldn't say I necessarily have like I've never really thought about it. I think it'd be impossible to say what your favourite animal of all time is. I think you'd almost have to go by like era. So I think if somebody like told me like, well, what was my favourite dinosaur, I'd probably be able to narrow it down to a couple. And then like my favourite megafauna, you know, I'd probably be able to like cut it down to a couple. And then like in modern day, I'd probably be able to narrow it down to a couple.
Right.
So like, I'd say that my favourite animals that are alive today probably be like bears.
Of course.
Killer whales, sperm whales, and cats.
Okay.
Those are like my 4 ones. I like how you were like, what?
I quite like monkeys, to be honest.
Any particular monkey?
Chimps are the ones that's the most similar to us, right?
Mate, sorry to be pedantic. A chimp isn't a monkey. A chimp is an ape.
Well, close.
Yeah, it's close. I know it's one of those things. It sounds a bit pedantic, but technically, I know that if a zoologist was listening to this, they would be like, fool, like that. Chimp isn't a monkey. Chimp's a great ape. Do you know what I mean?
What about you, Drew?
It's one of those things. All monkeys are apes, but not all apes are monkeys.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
What's your favourite animal, Drew?
I will say a dolphin.
Yeah?
I like dolphins. I really want to play with a dolphin, just swim with it.
Oh, yeah?
Just go swimming and just latch onto its back, ride it into
like Aquaman.
Heavenly seas.
Like a nice little, almost like comical version of Aquaman. Just imagine like Jason Momoa, and then just imagine like Drew, but just like riding a dolphin.
Exactly. That's what I imagine every night before I go to bed.
Aqua Drew.
Yeah.
That's how you go to sleep every night, just listening to like dolphin noises.
Yeah. I just like how like playful they are and stuff. And you see, I remember watching Blue Planet and just like literally the way that they all play and stuff, and it's like
very clever.
Have you ever seen the video of someone who dropped their phone in the ocean, like
and
off a boat,
goes and gets it,
and then the dolphin goes and gets it? Yeah,
that's almost sort of a bit like you showed me a video earlier of like an elephant taking a woman's hat.
Yeah, and then it like hides it,
and then she asks for it back very like nicely, and then the elephant gives it back to her. It reminds me a bit about that, and I think we've talked about it before on Pandora's Box as well, about how like I think animals are more intelligent than we give them credit for.
Oh, hell yeah.
But apparently researchers have even like recently found out, you know like the dawn chorus or the morning chorus as we know it. So like basically in the morning,
birds.
Birds call out?
Yes.
Yeah, and it happens when the sun rises. Apparently now they found out that the reason why birds do that is to let other birds know that they've survived the night. So obviously there's a lot of predators that go around at night. So cats traditionally are like nocturnal, so cats hunt at night. It's a dangerous time to be alive if you're like a bird or like a mouse or anything like that, because that's when
night means predators.
In Britain, what comes out at night? Foxes,
owls.
Cats, owls. Basically, the things that are going to kill you if you're a bird or a rodent. So when birds are doing the dawn chorus, they're basically going to their neighbours like, still here, which I thought was cool.
I've never thought this before. Where are foxes about in the daytime?
Dens, burrows.
Yeah, they den. They den themselves.
They den.
They den.
Because they're everywhere near here.
Yeah.
Like I see them every night just running about.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in daytime.
No, they're nocturnal as well.
I love it. Like where I live in the sticks, it's cool. Like sometimes, have you ever heard like a fox's mating call?
No.
Frickin' hell. That was a
Probably
blast.
wasn't like that.
That was a bit like that was. I wouldn't say that's 100% accurate. I think it sort of maybe captured the shock of first hearing one, but like it's like a weird noise. Like it doesn't sound like it should be from a fox. I'm gonna get it up actually. We're gonna listen to a song for a second.
Just like that fox.
While we're listening to the song, I'm gonna get up a fox mating call, but I hear them sometimes where I live because I live proper out in the sticks, like behind my house. Yeah, just like Drew's little mating call then. But it's like, you know, a bit like earlier on what I said about how you can see why like ancient humans would have like made stories about monsters and stuff. Like it doesn't sound like if you were like an ancient man and you saw a fox and then later on you were like huddled around a fire having a couple of meads before you were going to call it in for the night and you heard the fox mating call. Thanks, man. I was hoping you weren't going to let me down then. Then you wouldn't think that was a fox. You would think that was like some demon nearby. It sounds weird.
Demon of the fog.
Anyway, this is I Need You by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Stick around. When we come back, we're going to hear some fox mating calls. That was I Need You by Lynyrd Skynyrd. We were just talking before that last song about how mental fox's mating calls are. So we're going to get right into it now. Nathaniel and Drew, aka Axe Sharpen and Hyperion, have not heard this yet.
Let's see how
this is. You're going to see a live reaction to what they think of this. Ready? What do you think of it? So this is the mating call of a red fox. It's a bit quieter than I would have hoped.
Drew, you weren't far off.
There you go. I think I was pretty
Pretty good.
accurate. I was pretty accurate to that.
Suddenly we just look out the window all of a sudden, all these like foxes have gathered around and they just like jump on Drew and start trying to make love to him. Drew just comes in tomorrow like covered in scratches and bite marks.
Oh, so that's not the noise they make when they're actually making love.
No, that's the mating. That's the call. That's like,
what do they make when? What
come
noise
to
do they
me.
make when like
Come to
making
me.
love? Sure.
I don't know, maybe they're like surprised.
I thought that was like every push is like.
No. Believe it or not, that's how you entice a mate. If you're.
Have you ever heard a turtle making love? Or a tortoise?
Yes, I have.
I like looked at you then as if to be like thinking that you were going to join in with me as being like no, and then you're like yeah, actually.
I was in a pet store once, and it was hilarious. You just saw this turtle on top of another turtle, and their neck comes right out, and then they stick their little tongues out, and they go.
Drew, I love how like Drew's the man. A bit like how I've said before, Drew is like a very hot and cold person. He's either an expert on something or he doesn't know anything about it. Drew has become the Pandora's box mating call specialist.
That is literally spot on, by the way. It's literally.
Right, I'm gonna find this a minute. Right, turtle making love.
Is it turtle or tortoise?
Tortoise is one of the ones with like feet. It's a bit like the thing. You know, I said like all monkeys are apes, but not apes are monkeys.
Yeah, turtles swim, tortoise don't.
Yeah, but I think it's one of the things that like all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles. Turtles.
Turtle.
Not all tortoises. Tortoise making love. That's a weird thing to put in, isn't it? Right, let's have a listen.
Sound. Yeah.
Right, let's have a listen. Right.
You don't have Molly.
We don't have Molly.
You have.
It's annoying. It's a bit quiet, isn't it? Oh, look, he's full on mounted it.
No.
His little face. What the hell? Man, I know you can't see this, everyone, right? But just go on the tubes and just type in tortoise mate.
I was thinking of the
mating
smaller
noise.
ones. They're quite big, though, isn't they? You know.
Let me see if I can find a little one. Yeah, that seems.
The little one in the pet show is just like.
Right, this maybe this one. This one looks a bit smaller. Oh, he's like ramming her.
Oh dear.
Can you hear that? Oh, he looks well happy. Oh, he stuck his tongue out like you said. Oh my lord, that is hilarious. Right, everyone, I know you can't see this. Go on YouTube, type in tortoise mating noise, find one of the small tortoises. Mate, my brain
Liking that.
My brain is just getting all over the place. I don't even know what to think of that. I don't know if I'm sort of happy, disturbed, a bit of both.
I think he's well happy. Fair shout, Mr. Tortoise.
It's the fact that he went up to her and just started like ramming her with his shell, and you could just hear like, and then he's just like,
anybody in.
and then he just sort of just mounts her and starts going. God's sake, I can't hear any more of that.
Yeah, that's good though, isn't
That
it?
is
Funny.
hilarious. That is hilarious, man. It's interesting how like different, like we're like pretty lucky as humans in terms of like we're apparently one of the only species that actually have like really good pleasure, aren't we, from sex?
Yeah, dolphins do as well. That's probably
And
why
rats.
dolphins.
And rats.
Oh, rats! Oh my god!
Yeah. Rats can have orgasms apparently.
Whoa.
Whereas like cats, they have like barbed penises, don't they? So if you're a female,
Barbed penises.
so if you're a female cat, you get a raw deal because like
Literally.
imagine like a penis with like almost like thorn. That's almost like how I imagine it. You know, like thorns on a rose. Like,
yeah.
I almost imagine like a penis with
Just
thorns.
get stuck in there.
And then imagine like, sorry to be graphic, everyone, but imagine like penetrating a woman with that.
It's getting a bit X-rated this show.
Yeah. It's alright, we're all adults here. We're all adults. We can handle that. Barbed penis.
I don't know if I could handle that.
No, I don't know if anyone can handle it. Yeah. Bar penises. Anyway, we're almost coming to the end of the show. Not quite there yet. We're going to listen to another track now. This is Rays of Pinion by Baroness. Love this one. That was Rays of Pinion by Baroness. You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. And Axe Sharpen, a.k.a. Mr. Nathaniel Warren's got a question for us.
I do.
Take it away.
So, this week the question is, would you rather have one real get-out-of-jail-free card, right, or you have a key that can open up any door?
Oh, easy.
A key could open up any door.
Yeah,
I
me
reckon.
too. I'm never going to be in jail.
I reckon.
What would you want to open?
I don't know, but I like the
key
idea.
to your heart, Nathaniel.
I like the idea that if I wanted to open something, I could. Because the thing is, it would have lots of practical implications. So, like yesterday, for example, I came to the studio, realised when I got here, didn't have my keys, so I had to like pull a weird, funny face at you through the window. And
You could have used your key then. That'd have been a bit of a waste, I reckon.
So that's the reason you're going for that one.
Oh!
You only get it once.
Do you only get to use it once?
No.
Oh, you get
yeah.
to,
So this is what I'm talking about.
even more reason to have a key.
Alright, you get to use it once. You get to use it once. That evens it
that's
out.
rubbish. That's rubbish.
No, I don't know. I don't think it's rubbish. I think it kind of makes the question a bit
I
parallel.
reckon I'd never end up using it because I reckon I'd always think that there was the potential to find
for something better. That's what I was thinking.
And as a result, I'd probably just die and never use it, and it'd be pointless.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
I'd go in search of something really cool to open, like the pyramid doors or something.
Yeah, but you need to find the pyramid door. That'd be the hard part.
I would choose the jail one and then go do something like crazy. Like not crazy.
So it gives
You could
you
go
an
like
excuse to do something
let's
crazy.
say you go like I don't know to the pyramids of Giza or something, and you want to go inside.
Yeah.
You go inside, you get arrested. Whack out your
get a jail free
card.
card one. Yeah,
Monopoly.
that's true. They both would. They would both be awesome.
They'd both be valuable.
I'm just trying to think of actually what I would want to unlock, but I feel like it's almost. I feel a bit like like the idea that I'd be able to open anything.
Thing is though,
feel a bit like naughty.
just because you can open it doesn't mean that you're not allowed. You're allowed in there.
Oh,
let's
I know.
let's say you go in the White House,
But that's part of the thrill,
you
mate.
still could get arrested.
But to me, that's almost like part of the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, but I'd still be going sneaky even though I've got my card because I don't want to lose my card. You know, I could use it another time.
Yeah, but how would you get in?
I'll find a way.
Yeah, you
can do anything. I've got to get out of jail. I can do anything.
Fair play. Anyway, we've come to the end of another Pandora's Box. Cheers for tuning with us, guys. Hope you guys have an awesome week and come back next week for some more Pandora's Box facts and shenanigans.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
This is Snowblind by Black Label Society to play you out.
Not Snow Patrol.
Not Snow Patrol, no. Snowblind with Father Zachariah Wild.